everybody, this is Stacy. I have a special project share for you today. You've probably already seen by the title. This is my audition for Graphic 45 brand ambassador for 2019. And I have used for this project Graphic 45's Old Curiosity Shop. This is the Deluxe Collector's Edition. So anyways, this is my project. And what this is not a typical, I guess, mini album for me. This is more of a scrapbook. I took inspiration from the page that is called the Parlor Wall. And it's kind of like a gallery wall themed page. And so what I ended up doing on the front here was I cut out some of the frames. I cut out the pictures from the inside of the frames and backed them on some chipboard. Put some transparency in between the chipboard and then attached them to the cover. Then I went through my stash and I found the little Tim Holtz tags that I thought went great with the paper collection because they say curiosity, oddities, and found objects, and kind of use these as a placard for, like you would see in an art gallery. They have the placards next to the pictures. And I tried to maintain the gallery theme throughout, and I will show you that in just a minute. So I used the pretty red paper on the front. On the sides here, this is constructed out of the green hanging file folders. I left the file folders, blank on the sides because I like that green. I thought it matched the paper. And then on the back, I used this pretty paper back here. So also on the front, this frame does come off. It's held down with magnets, so there's a little surprise behind there, and a little butterfly on the front that I put with some glossy accents. So you open this up like this, and these are just a couple of arrow spinners and some embellishments that I folded over to make a closure. So it is a gatefold. It opens like this. And the reason why I am calling this a scrapbook is because the pages are not matted. So basically I just used the paper by itself so you can see it front and back. And there are going to be all kinds of scrappy little bits in here from family vacations and different places that we travel to. So that's why I'm calling it a scrapbook. But you can kind of see here, I carried the gallery theme through to the inside as well, but let's start over here. So on this side, I made a pocket out of the transparency, and inside the pocket, I made these cute little tags. I'll pull these out and show you. So this first tag here, and I just cut some elements out of the paper. These are Graphic 45 ATC tags in ivory. And then this is a little bee. Comes out of the jar and he goes back in. And then on this side, again, more elements cut out of the paper and just made it kind of fun. Let's see, make sure I'm in frame. These are tickets from the sticker sheet that I tucked behind here. And then this little lady, of course, with her honey almond cream and a little bee in the corner. So this pocket has the flying pigs with the transparency. It does flip up, held down with a magnet. And then we have a couple little flip ups here. And I did back these with just some coffee dyed paper. So I'll be able to write something here, and because I plan to put pictures underneath. Little butterfly here, this little fella here. He's a funny little critter and I liked him, so I put him there. And then over here, I used these frames for tabs for my pages on this side. Cut out the butterflies from the other page and sewed them on so they do look like they've got their little antenna. And then you just flip this open and make sure you can see all of this. Okay, I'm gonna flip this open. And I did do some sewing with black and white thread on the inside, just a really simple hinge to keep the pages together. Another frame here, and then over here in this corner, I kind of constructed my own little frame for this lady here. I cut out some more elements from the paper and glue that onto the frame, and then she slides out So you can write something on the back or hide a picture or whatever. But I thought this would be cute for like to hide a photo booth strip under there. And she just slides back in there. Yep, let's go to this side before I open that. And so here's the lady again here. This is the larger frame, and I just cut it down and cut this picture out of the collection and put those two items together. And then you open this up, and here's a little booklet that I made, and these are the Graphic 45 regular size tags. So a little piece of the chipboard here. This is just some little felt kind of ribbon. I made a couple tags for the front. I cut the little pig out of this one. And that is from the sticker sheet. And this is also from the sticker sheet, this little tag here. And so those go in the pocket in the front, and this opens up, and you've got kind of a little pop out, little traveling apothecary, I guess you could say. And then some more of the paper on the back. So when you open this up, back here we have the cabinet. So I cut this out of the paper. Couldn't resist using some more glossy accents on the clock faces and on the bottles. And then behind here is the ticket from the sticker sheet, as well as I took some elements out of the paper collection and cut them out and then reconstructed them. And they just kind of slide back in here, but it just looks like more things sitting up on top of the high shelf. And that could be a tag or a place to put a picture. And then here, I did the same thing. I cut some little bottles out. And here's just a little hidden place to put, you know, a message or something like that. And that slides into there. And then over here in the middle, again, with the gallery theme, there's another picture that I cut out. And then I kind of made this a little three-dimensional element by cutting another one out of the paper. And just kind of have it hanging out of the frame. So more stitching again, and then this folds down, butterfly here, and these fold out, and then this folds up, so there's another place to put a photo. I really like this red paper a lot. And then behind these two little flip ups here, so I took the red ATC policy envelopes, and you can see they've got the little string closure on the back. And I made some little specimen envelopes out of them. So there's a flying pig in one, and the eyeball in the other, and this one says unusual, and this one says curious. You can still open these. There is some transparency here, and I put vellum on here, and I thought it'd be cute because this is another place where you could put, you know, a picture on the inside or some little ephemera memento from a trip and that kind of thing. So these are both like that. And then on this side, of course, you know, well, I had to make a monocle out of a pair of the eyeglasses. So I just took some colored pencil. This paper takes very well too if you have a decent set of colored pencils. And so I colored the eye in blue, and I just made a monocle. So there's a little chain with a little bead on the end. I thought that would be fun. And then of course, glossy accents for it. And then you can't work with this paper and not have some flying pigs somewhere. So behind here, I made a little pop-up, and those are our flying pigs. And those are just held down with some transparency, or held up, I should say. But, you know, when you close it up, they fold, and then you open it back up, and they pop out at you. So a lot of fun. Over on this side, kind of a little belly band here. Here is another tag from the sticker sheet. Here's a little guy cut out from the paper collection, a bottle, and then I cut him out of the center. So, and he just slides in there. And then this side is the same as the other side, but it is blank. There's nothing popping out at you. So then we come all the way back over here to this side. And on this side, these are kind of like a file folder elements. And again, with the colored pencil here on this little fella, this little dragonfly, and some more glossy accents on the wings. And so more sewing, these pop open. And there's a tuck spot here, and I purposely have the idea that I'm going to put some different little mementos kind of hanging out because I want this to kind of be fun and look raggedy. So I purposely made this card into a tuck spot that was already hanging out. Here's a card cut out from the paper collection that I just tucked back in here to get started. And then these just flip open with the little file folder tabs. And then this is a flip up. And then again, with the gallery theme all the way around. Now this is not a wrap album either. I'll show you what I mean. Since I made this out of two file folders, the edges are raw. So what I did was, let me close this. So what I did was, and you can probably see it, I used some gold Gilders Wax all the way around the edges. And if you look here, I also left my strings hanging out because I like things a little raggedy. If you look here, there is Gilders Wax all the way around. And your other option for doing something like this would be like just some ink, just a dauber and some ink. And I also used, I forgot to mention, a bit of the Gilders Wax on the frames too. So I don't know if you can see, sorry about the glare with the transparency. Anyways, so if you stick around, I have made a tutorial on how to make the base of this album. It's really easy. If you are watching this on YouTube, I have a link in the description box below that will take you back to my blog where you will find all the materials that I used from Graphic 45 with links to their website to those materials, as well as a material list and a cut list for making the base of this album. So before we head over into the craft room, I just want to say thank you to the folks at Graphic 45 for your consideration. And also tell everybody, have a great weekend, you guys, or what's left of it. Okay, everybody, we are back and we are over at the craft table. And I'm going to show you how to make the base for that scrapbook. So what we're going to need is, we're going to need 2 of these green hanging file folder deals. Okay, a lot of you have these in your stash already because you like to make things out of them like I do. So we need 2 of these to start out with. And this is super easy, gang. So we're going to cut this down. And if you have one of these rotary trimmers, I just put the end in the trimmer so that the metal prongs, let me make sure you can see that. Let me move this down a little bit so that the metal prongs touch the paper guide here and just cut through. Now, if you don't have one of these trimmers, you're just taking an inch off each end. So you'd want to do this on both sides, take an inch off of both sides. Line it up, make sure it's not crooked. Okay, and that's super simple, right? Okay, then I want you to take your folder and your cutter again, or your ruler, and we're gonna cut this down to 11 inches. So put it in your rotary cutter, line it up on the guides there, measure at 11 inches and cut. And if you are not using the rotary cutter for this, you are taking 3/4 of an inch off the bottom of the folder. So you want to do that to both because you want them to be, you know, the same height. So we're going to take our file folders and we want to open one of these up. And inside, to the left and the right of the fold in the middle, let's see, might be easier to see it this way. There are some score lines. So there's 4 score lines on each side of the fold. So when you open it up, you want to go to the 4th score line, or the score line that is closest to the fold, and go ahead and take a pencil or a pen and make a mark there. That's gonna be your, so it's easier to see. So that's gonna be your guideline. We're gonna use that in just a minute. And then take some kind of adhesive. I use, like when I make the bases for my albums and my mini albums and stuff like that, I use, a lot of you know, a combination of score tape and glue, but you just need some kind of adhesive. I put score tape around the edges, and then I'll fill this all in with glue. So if you do the same thing, put your score tape on your 3 edges here, and then what I did here is I put on the outside, this would be on the inside of the folder. On the outside of this folder, what we're gonna do with this line is we're gonna line things up like this. And that is how our 2 folders are gonna get put together. You can also run the score tape down along this way. I just did it this way. It doesn't matter. It really just doesn't matter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel the backing off the score tape before I put my glue on, if I can get it. If I can get it off. Okay. Do the same thing. If you did the other side, the back side of the folder, then do the same thing over here and set it out of the way so nothing gets stuck to it. And then I'm just gonna fill this area here in with glue. Okay. Alrighty. And we're gonna take our folder here, our other folder, and open it up. Hopefully we're gonna do this right on the first try. So I'm gonna line it up on that line. And there, oh, look at there. Okay, nice and straight. Okay, and press it all down. Could not be easier. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we've got our pieces of chipboard. And our chipboard, we have one piece that is 8.5 by 11. Then we have 2 pieces that are 4.25 by 11. And then our 2 little spine pieces that are, oh, I didn't mark, did I mark that? Yes, I did. 3.25 by 11, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing. We need to stick these down. So we're going to put some score tape all the way around, or you're gonna put glue, or you're gonna use, you know, score tape, whatever it is you do. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna put score tape all around the edges of each of these. And I will show you after I put the score tape on how to get that, how to get these in place. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have my score tape on all of my pieces, and before I put my glue on, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. So this is going to go down right in the center. You're gonna center this up in between the folds where the folders would fold. That sounds funny. In between the folds of the folders, I guess that sounds better. So that's where this first piece is going to go. So since I'm particular about things, I will take the score tape off. I laugh at myself a lot. Oh, and we're gonna put the glue in. Oh, I may need to fill the glue bottle and just keep it upside down. I'm going to flip this over. Do it this way so you can still see the measurements. So I'm going to flip this over, line it up, and set it down. Okay. And then we'll flip this folder over and push it all down. glue on the back, but that's okay, it'll be covered up. Let's see, what do I do with my bone folder? Here it is. Use my bone folder to smooth this all out. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is take our little hinge pieces, and this area here, okay, so we are left now with the fold on both sides and the 4 score lines. So what you want to do is you want to line this up, your hinge piece, in between the fold and the last score line. So it's going to go, I'll make sure you can see this. It's going to go right in there. So that's gonna give you probably about an 1/8 of an inch gap, at least, on either side. So right in between there. And you're gonna do that on both sides. So I just have score tape on these. I'm gonna take this off first. This bottom one here. Okay, let's line this first one up. Like I said, it's gonna go right in between the fold and that first score line. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we're gonna do the same thing with this one. Oops, I'm making noises. Okay, super easy, right? Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're gonna take our 4 1/4 by 11 pieces, and those are gonna get lined up right on that last score line on either side. Or I should say, on both sides. So then we have the same gap in between this piece and this piece that we do between our 8 1/2 by our 3/4 inch piece. So okay, now we're just gonna put it right on that score line and line it up with the edge and press it all down. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. This piece a little funky, I think. It looks a little raggedy. I think it's straight, yeah. It's straight, it just looks a little raggedy. Okay, now you have a decision to make. Do you want to keep these little flaps, which I did, if you remember on the, or in the video, that this side, this flap became a pocket that opened and closed, and then this flap became kind of those little divider pages. For this one, I am going to, because I have another purpose in mind for this particular cover. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to actually cut these flaps off. The other option is too, you could always wrap them around and glue them down this way. Well, you know, I might do that. Yeah, you know what? Instead of cutting them off, I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm just gonna wrap these around. So now to get a nice fold with this cardstock, if you hold your flap down, slide your hand underneath the folder and press up against your chipboard. So make the crease. Okay, so you have a nice crease. And then I want to slide it. Just kind of slowly pull it down and work it down. And that makes a nicer edge. If you do it too quickly, the edge gets kind of wrinkly. So this makes a nicer edge. So what I'm going to do then is, I think I'm gonna grab some more score tape and some more glue. And yeah, we're gonna glue these flaps down. Let's see, I think I have more of this tape. I'm gonna use this size. But you could totally, you can cut these flaps off. Again, you can make pockets out of them. You can, I got my score tape crooked. Here, let's cut it off here. You can do what I'm doing and fold them in. There's no rule. You make the rules. I don't make the rules, you make the rules. You can do whatever you want. Ooh. Okay. You can even put your score tape on crooked. There we go. It's a little harder because I can't hang over the project. You'll see my head. All right. Pull that off. Okay. So now we've already made our nice folds, our nice creases. We can go ahead and pull this over and it should lay down nicely. And with our score tape on the edge here, it holds it all down while the glue's drying. That's one of the reasons I like to use score tape. Okay. That should be good. Okay. Now you're going to take the papers that you choose, whether it be your Graphic 45 designer papers, or if you have something else in mind for this particular project. Since I've already used my Graphic 45 paper, I am going to use a paper background that I actually threw together. And most of it's going to be covered up. And this measurement on this paper will be, let me see. So obviously it's going to be 11 because that's the height of the folder. It's going to be 11 by, I think it's 18 3/4. I think I cut that paper a little long just in case. Yeah, it's going to be 11 by 18 3/4. All right, then I'm going to, let me measure this out. So I am going to put this paper down the same way that I put the cardstock on. So I like to run it along the chipboard. All the way around the edges. What's this one? And I also like to completely fill the spine area up with score tape just to keep everything tight. Okay, gang, more glue. Okay, now let's see if I can get this stuck down. Nice and even. This is always the challenge, right? Is after you have your cover put together, there is just kind of no trick for this. You just kind of have to go for it and hope for the best. If you are not comfortable with you doing this with score tape, ooh, let's see. Okay, well, it's a little bit off, but I'm okay with that. We can fix that. We can fix that because we can trim this side, and then we can either use, what do you call it? We can either use an ink pad or some more Gilders Wax. And I'll show you that too, in case you don't know what Gilders Wax is. Now we can go ahead and start doing our fold. So, let's see, find where our fold is. And very gently, kind of give that a little nudge. Let's see, I missed one. There we go. So you don't want to do this too hard because you don't want to rip your paper, and you just want to take your time with it. Okay. And then we want to do the same thing on the other side. I like to kind of persuade it a little bit with a bone folder. But like I said, really gently. The last thing you want to do is poke a hole through your paper. Okay, and there we have. You're good to go. Okay, now before you put any more paper on this, you're going to want to decide closure. So if you're going to use kind of like a standard gatefold box closure, whatever, but you want to start thinking about that now. That way you can hide hardware or whatever it is you need to hide. The other thing is too, on this album, like I showed you, since the edges are raw, I used Gilders Wax, the gold Gilders Wax. Comes in a couple different forms. Over at Michael's, which is usually where I get my craft stuff, this is the Craft Smart company, and this Gilders Wax, you get a big pot of it, like this is the silver. You get a great, and you just use the smallest little bit of this. I mean, the tiniest little bit on the end of your finger. This Gilders Wax, excuse me, is in the section where they have the craft paints, the little bottles of, like, you know, that 99-cent apple barrel paints or whatever they are, and the stenciling paints and all that. That's where you find this stuff, and it's a little bit cheaper than this stuff that's made by Artsy. So, and then obviously, you know, I don't know, you get a bigger tub of it maybe. I don't know if it's the same ounces or not, but this stuff by Artsy or whatever other company, you'll find this in the mixed media section where they have like the distress sprays and paints and rubber stamps and, you know, all that good stuff that you usually use for crafting. So that's what the Gilders Wax is. The other option is just a dauber for your edges, is just a dauber and an ink pad. You can use, you know, any ink pad, Distress ink, or what have you. So for this particular album, once I get my other papers on it, when I decide what I'm going to put on here, I'm going to use Distress ink this time. Okay, so think about your hardware. Also, you're going to want to think about what are you putting inside here. There's a few things you can do. Let me show you. I will get the book out again just for a refresher. And so you can do some little flip outs here, like I did. You can make some pages and hinge them to your spine. You can do kind of a succession of pages, start with a small, because you have this area here, back here. Start with a smaller page on top and get a little bit bigger, like this, but doing that here. You can do waterfalls. Since this is 3/4 of an inch, you could probably, well, not probably, you could make a double hinge and attach some pages, and then you could have stuff in the front and in the back. So it is completely up to you. You do not have to do the raw, what I call raw pages. Do the raw pages like I did. You can mat everything, and yeah. So you are limited to your imagination. So that's it, gang. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you got some inspiration from it. And again, I will leave the link in the description box below if you're watching this on YouTube to my blog, where I will have the materials and the cut list on there, the links for the things I used at Graphic 45. And yeah, so go check that out. And you guys have a terrific weekend, and I will see you back here real soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.